one of them relates to the aspect of political will. You very well know that there are a number of cases that that those committees come up with when you look at their reports. But the question that we always ask ourselves as taxpayers, as citizens of this country, is how far these reports go. So it is still a question that we are grappling with as citizens of the country, as civil society, anti-corruption players. The aspect of political will is still lacking. And we do call upon the responsible entities to ensure that we show commitment towards this fight. And one of the ways that we are going to do that is to bring to book some of these people. Let's hold responsible the people that are supposed to be held responsible. When you talk about the leadership code, last week I was delighted to be part of a discussion on the leadership code, and what the picture that we got was that work is moving on so well there. Cases are being handled and resolved. So the question remains is how do citizens get information about the performance of some of these great initiatives that are working towards addressing corruption in this government? They've shown that a lot has been done, but the question that we do have as citizens is, why are the big fish left to swim untouched? It is still a question that we do not have a response to as civil society. Maybe government can come up one day.
Tujaguza olunaku lw'okulwanyisa obuli bw'enguzi n'okufuna obwenkanya ku ttaka ne ku mbeera y'obudde. Tuyita ebitongole nga African Union Commission okuvaayo okwegatta ku ffe okulwanyisa obuttaake n'okulwanirira bonna abalekedde emabega, okulwanira ettaka lyabwe n'okubasobozesa okufuna bwe baba nga balina we baddukira oba okuba kwe basobola okufuna obuyambi. N'ebyo ebibiina byonna ebitalina mwasirizi na bwogerero okuba nga bisobola okwissaamu eddoboozi lyabwe, okuba nga lituuka eri abo bavunaanyizibwa ne basobola okuba nga bassa mu nkola ebyo ebitubeetaagisa okubeera nga babikolera. Nga tuyita bannamawulire, abakulembeze, ebibiina ebyannakyewa, ebitongole n'abo abeesimbyewo, tubasaba nti bwe baba bagattagatta biki bye bagenda okuba nga boogerako eri eggwanga oba nga batunulako mu ebyo bye baasuubiza abantu baabwe bannayuganda, babeere nga boogera ku bulyake n'obuli bw'enguzi obuli mu ggwanga, wa we babutuusizza naki kye basuubira okukola okulaba nga bakyusa embeera eriwo okugitereeza. N'ekirala eri abo abakulembeze abajja mu kalulu, engeri gye tuli tutiri mu budde obusembereddwa okulonda era nga bangi abeenyigidde mu kunoonya akalulu n'okufuba okukakasa abantu baabwe abagenda okubalonda nti babaze mu buyinza oba babawa akalulu okubanga bye batuukiriza ng'okubawa essuubi. Tusaba bonna beesimbyewo okuba nti bwe baba bakola ebiwandiiko lwabwe okwogerako ebiffe okutufunamu obululu oba okutuuka mu Parliament okuyisaawo eddoboozi lyaffe balwanirire obwensi.
To commemorate the Africa Anti-Corruption Day under the theme Promoting Human Dignity in the Fight Against Corruption. This theme calls on all actors, government, civil society, the private sector, and the citizens to recognize human dignity in all anti-corruption initiatives and to protect the most vulnerable from the devastating consequences of corruption. It also encourages a more holistic approach to anti-corruption efforts, recognizing the importance of protecting individual rights and promoting social justice. Various reports have revealed corruption to be a major barrier to sustainable access and use of land, as well as a constraint to an effective response to climate action. As Uganda approaches the critical 2025-2026 election season, we, the undersigned representatives of the civil society fraternity across the country, issue a resolute to call all political parties, institutions, and electoral candidates We demand clear, public, and enforceable commitments from all aspirants at every level of governance to protect land rights and advance genuine climate justice as a core part of their political agenda. At the same time, we urge citizens to actively engage in the democratic practices by demanding that current and aspiring leaders clearly state their stance on corruption and outline specific anti-corruption measures in their manifestos. Despite decades of progressive legislation and budgetary promissories, General Comment 26 of 2022 on land and the economic, social, and cultural rights acknowledge the prevalence of corruption in the land sector, especially in land registration, demarcation, leasing, and compulsory land acquisition processes. It demands that states establish proper accountability mechanisms to prevent corruption in the land sector. According to the Anti-Corruption Court case records and other investigative stories, the land administration sector, including the district land boards, remain widely corrupt and dysfunctional, facilitating fraudulent land title acquisitions and illegal evictions. Besides land tribunals designated to resolve disputes, they remain largely idle and inaccessible to ordinary Ugandans. There are also disparities. We commend the government for enacting the Climate Change Act 2021, the National Land Policy 2013, which is also under review, the Land Act 1998, Anti-Corruption Act as amended 2015, establishment of the Climate Finance Unit under the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to guide efficient allocation and utilization of climate finance, measures like inspections before land registration by Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development to curb fraud during land registration, and the digitalization of the land sector, and many other initiatives. We note that enforcement of these laws and policies remains a challenge, yet they are instruments of justice. Corruption costs Uganda an estimated 9.1 trillion shillings annually, siphoning resources meant for essential services like health, education, and infrastructure. Notably, over 2.8 trillion of this is lost within the environment, climate change, and land sectors, areas which are critical for sustainable development and community resilience. The Corruption Perceptions Index 2024 places Uganda at a score of 26 out of 100, which is unchanged from the previous 2 years